Hey, 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 this is CRL Chart Request Live, the show where you provide the requests, we provide the charts. Spencer Israel, Steve Straza. Let's just pick up our conversation where we left off, Steve, because we were just talking before we hopped on about GameStop. We talked about this, I want to say I think it was on Tuesday's show. Or no, it may have been, actually, I think it was on the morning show. And you talked about one of the better ways to play as GameStop, which is sort of its own category of short squeeze, is buying weakness within strength, right? So I was thinking about that, and that's what I did,
So,
actually.
so Spencer bought GameStop. Kudos to you. I love that. And this is what we're talking about, right? Like a normal short squeeze, it starts going, it's up 5%, 10%. You could even buy it up there, right? GameStop and some of the meme stocks are built different, right? For example, would you really want to buy GameStop up 75% a few weeks ago? I know you got follow through of 60% the next day, but that's a tough game for anybody to play, right? So what you do is you wait for that momentum surge, and we're showing that up here in the top pane with the short-term rate of change. You get that momentum surge, and then you buy the weakness off the surge, right? So GameStop had this 2-day 120% move, and then it really came in hard, right? And you could have dropped a little VWAP here at the pivot lows. You could even pull the VWAP up and tighten it to right before the move happened. They're going to come in around the same place, right? And then you want to somehow find a way to get in off of that first momentum. And that's really what you did, Spencer, right? So if you whop it from the lows down here
Well, I only bought it today, full
today,
disclosure. Yeah.
but today is really the first day we're making a nice reclaim of that VWAP from the April low. So I kind of love what you did here, like some logical levels. I will be looking at, the high from obviously last month. But really, you want to exit these in a similar fashion to how you enter them.
Mm,
You ideally enter as soon as that little strength starts to come in. Great. You also don't want to enter, I'm sorry, you don't want to exit while that strength is still happening. You want to exit on a little bit of short-term weakness. So I was just telling Spencer off air, just drop some VWAPs around. You can even flip it to a 15-minute chart because you are getting tactical with a trade like this. And so
yeah.
if we do like the 15-minute here, I'd be looking at, for example, this structure, right? And I'd say, okay, if I really want to keep it tight, I already have gains in here. I don't want to give any gains back. Well, we had a coil here. As that coil resolved, some volume probably came in, drop a VWAP right there, right? And then you can keep on kind of moving those spots up. You would drop one right here at this pivot low, right? If you wanted something looser. And then that's your trailing exit, right? That VWAP goes, whichever one you want to use, you should calculate the risk from the current price to that VWAP. You should also be mindful of what your P&L will look like if you are out at that level. Okay, I like that. I like the way this VWAP can get me out. As soon as it breaks, bang, bang. But good
Yep.
for you.
Great. All right. Let's go over to the requests now. We got quite a few in the inbox here. So in no particular order, I'll go with the order in which I think they're interesting questions. Ivan asked about Salesforce,
Yeah.
which I find interesting only because you know we're on a couple of days of strength here, and this has been really beaten down. Former, I guess you can call it a former growth name now. It's not really growthy anymore.
Is that true?
Well, thinking I'm just thinking back to their most recent earnings report where they talked about declining growth, right? So,
Look, quarter over quarter, I'm just doing a quick sanity check on what you're saying. It checks out 9.3 billion prior quarter, 9.13 billion the most recently reported quarter. Listen, they really hammered this thing following that last report. So if we look at same quarter last year, 8.3. They really are still growing fine year over year basis, but you want to see that sequential growth really quarter by quarter, as long as there's no really like seasonal trends, which I don't think there is. The Salesforce's business. So quarter over quarter, you're seeing that sales growth decelerate. Never a good thing, particularly bad thing for stocks that trade at high multiples, right? It's one thing if you trade at 10 times earnings,
right, exactly, exactly.
growth goes away. It's like, fine, maybe the stock gets repriced to 9.5 times earnings, right? But companies like Salesforce that are trading at 40 times earnings, a little bit of repricing down to a 35 or 30 multiple is a big deal. And if your numbers are falling at the same time, that repricing is going to be felt even harder, right? So with Salesforce, I think you keep it simple. We do have some levels here. I don't hate this at all. In fact, I like the idea of buying weakness in bull markets and some of these leadership names, or in the case of Salesforce, right, we still have to call this a secular leader. For example, if I were to zoom all the way out on this chart to forever, and just show you Salesforce and show you Salesforce relative to the broader market, it's going to be up and to the right, steadily. So when we zoom in, we have this kind of situation here where I really love the way the bears knock this down after making a new all-time high, right? This was your first warning signal of some impending issues here. We got the breakout to fresh all-time highs, and it was like a day and a half hanging out up there before this thing got smacked. So then you get this little short-term break. You see that nasty gap, and now we're back above it. We dug in at the VWAP anchored from the bear market lows in late 2022. Kind of love that. I also think you have a really clean level right here that you could trade against, 230-ish. And you could draw this real thick like that, right? So it's really a range from, I don't know, 228 to 238. So that $10 zone, that's where I'd be building a position if I wanted to own this long term. It's the kind of name I think a lot of people would want to own long term, and that would make sense to me. So strength through this 230-ish level, which we're there now. I like it. I think you have to be patient with something like this, though, right? Once a chart kind of breaks like this, even in the context of a strong uptrend like Salesforce is in, for example, look at this oversold momentum ring. Momentum hit 17. I don't know if we've ever seen momentum that bad in this name. I'm going to zoom out to the beginning of time for Salesforce. At the bear market lows during the financial crisis, they didn't even break 22 on the RSI. So the selling pressure and just the aggressiveness with which bears came out and hit this one does stand out and might hold it back. In other words, there might be some healing or intermediate term basing that needs to kind of happen here before they can get this thing kind of moving higher back in the direction of the underlying trend. So I'd be patient with it. You could probably slowly build this position. You probably get some sort of choppiness, right, around this level, maybe overshoot it, then reclaim it, check back in with this VWAP one more time. Maybe this ends up looking like this, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay. Injective protocol for who asked about this? This was from
I'm
Mark,
involved.
maybe? I don't know.
I'm involved. I got in on this coil back here last year, and it's not been great for me. It's not been great. So this is a leader in crypto, right? If I zoom out here, I think this one's relatively new token, just up and to the right. Let's look at it relative to Bitcoin. That's something you always want to do. If you're going to buy a token or any of these cryptos, make sure it's a leader, right? Bitcoin is not just probably the safest, highest quality in crypto, right? That is your blue chip, but it's also the best, right? Except for maybe a handful, small handful of like some real outperformers. Injective, if you zoom out, I mean, this one's been leading this entire cycle, giving back a lot, right? Look at this mean reversion in the relative trend here. So the trend is higher, right? This nice little channel here. But then we have massive counter trend move since December. So all year moving lower relative to Bitcoin. If this can repair itself, right, and rebound the relative trend, we start moving higher here. You do have the prior cycle highs coming right in just above current price. I like that setup. You want to see this, right? So Injective starts to reassert that old leadership. That's looking really good. Then, okay, what are our levels? Let's flip it back to the absolute price chart. I think it's pretty clear. We're going to drop a VWAP from the all-time high here. Okay, that's going to be your ultimate confirmation. I'm even going to put it right there. We're going to use the intraday high. You have some sort of a breakdown level here, which will need to be reclaimed, right? That comes in right around 30 bucks. All these pivot lows here before this little break. And now this is a base, right? Little couple month base here. You buy the reclaim. Okay, so that's going to look something like this if and when it happens. And then you'll be back above the VWAP from the all-time highs, and you'll be back above this polarity zone with this shelf of pivot lows. And then this little coil pattern here will also be resolving higher, right? All these things will be happening at the same time, and Injective will be back on its way to new all-time highs. If you're looking for a trade, you can dump it and feed the ducks back at those old all-time highs just north of 50. And if you're looking for something longer term, I would fib out the original base, which, boy, small bases here. I would do this one. Yep. So look, reinforcing the importance of this all-time high around 54, and then from there 85. I like it.
All right, there's a target for you, or two. So Kareem has been listening to you talk about the Bitcoin breakout. His method of playing it is BITX, which is the 2 times levered Bitcoin play. Would you even offer technicals on this, or would you just say, Bitcoin is the proxy, right? So Bitcoin is an underlying asset, actually. So
I don't have the time to try and figure out just how bad all of these levered funds are, right? But there's a lot of slippage here. No, but
also we don't have enough history really to even say, like, they haven't been stress tested at all.
Right, but look, okay, so this should look like Bitcoin, correct? That should be understood by anybody who's in it, right? So this should look like Bitcoin. Here's the high for BitX. We're about 12 points below it still. Let's look at IBIT. Okay, we're $1.50 below those highs, right? So did you see the slippage just since this consolidation started in mid-March? Look at all that you've lost. So what is the takeaway about that little lesson? You don't want to hold this too long, right? If you're going to hold it for a day, 2 days, 3 days, like trade this Bitcoin breakout and the subsequent follow through, great, right? If your holding period is 3 days, whatever, fantastic. But you want to manage that trade and enter and exit based on the Bitcoin chart rather than this one, just like you said, Spencer. So if you're going to be long BitX, I think you want to be long. If we're above, I would use, because we are trying to jump this, I would use for a chart of Bitcoin itself. I mean, at this point, we've kind of left the station. It was about the VWAP, right? So being above this VWAP around 66 is really where we are comfortable jumping this entry. The problem with that now is if you're jumping an entry, you want to jump as close to your stop as possible. You would have wanted to be in around 66. I think at this point, if you're not already in, wait for the move, because I don't love how long it's taking. So at this point, if you're not in it, I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm stuck in it. Happy to be in it. But like, I need this move to happen like now, not next week. I don't want to be holding all my positions over the weekend. So I would say at this point, 72. You really want 72 here. All right, so let me just remove this line and this line. 72 completes this little multi-week coil. Okay. So that's it right there. Above 72, I think you'd be long BitX all day. And then if you're looking for a trade, let's just fib out this base. That's the easiest way to do it. So Bitcoin next stop, 84,450. When Bitcoin is there, then you can go look at your BitX and look to sell based on that price target on the Bitcoin chart. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, but the main takeaway again is maybe BITX not the best levered play. You know, Chad had it right. Who said this in the chat? Mark Zerby. MicroStrategy is also a good levered play on Bitcoin.
I'm not going to be too hard on the person requesting the BitX for the simple reason that Coinbase and Binance and these crypto exchanges are not for everyone, and I fully understand that. If you're not comfortable being on those platforms, you shouldn't be on them. Trust me, they make me uncomfortable. I like the idea of being able to trade IBIT, which is really Bitcoin. It's going to track Bitcoin almost to the T, X the fees, right? And it's going to look just like spot Bitcoin. You can hold it in your Fidelity account or your Schwab account or your Interactive Brokers. Now, the problem is this man who asked this question wants leverage, which is why he's going to BitX. You securities regulators, get your shit together. you need to offer options on the IBIT, right? Because people want to use their traditional brokerages and get leverage to Bitcoin without having to buy MicroStrategy or one of these crazy Bitcoin miners. And ideally, that should be done through the options market on IBIT, not through these levered long index funds that they also approved, but they won't approve options trading on the IBIT. It's really silly. I think we get there very soon, and then you'll be able to trade some calls on the IBIT instead of having to trade the BitX. But right now, you can't do that. So I get why someone would want to use this vehicle.
All right, let's move on. Jeff asked about Constellation, not Constellation, sorry.
ESTM?
QSR,
Oh.
Restaurant Brands International, the owners of Burger King and Tim Hortons. I live 5 miles from one of the only Tim Hortons in New Jersey.
So
I get to go there.
I had a Burger King across the street from me. But it was a COVID casualty. And that was
Bummer.
like 4 years ago now. The Burger King closed. Do you know what it is now?
What could it be?
It's nothing. It's just a down old Burger King. People use it as like a commuter parking lot. It's terrible. I'm sure some shady things go down in this parking lot at night. There's nothing there. I don't know where McDonald's is. I don't know where Dunkin' is. Like,
Bummer.
somebody, come on. But yeah, it is a bummer. Anyway, QSR, this is a really sloppy mess. Here you go. Prior cycle highs. Let's just use these. This is the move here. Right? You got your 2021 highs. Kind of seeing price react to them right here and here and here and here and now again right now. So I think you keep it simple with this one. You do have this situation of some sort of like complex double top here going on, which I don't love. That doesn't trigger unless the September or the October 23 lows are taken out. This is probably not a top, but be aware of this kind of structure here, right? At the same time, a bull would come in and say, well, what are you talking about? We're actually just carving out higher lows and higher highs, right? So this one is really messy. And I think there's something for both bulls and bears here, which is often the case, Spencer. I'll bet you RSI is going from overbought to oversold conditions. Oh, how did I know it, right? You could usually tell by the price chart. So look at this sloppy. This is a trendless RSI. We get oversold, we get overbought, we get oversold. It's just, there's no signal there right now. So above 70, yeah, 71, keep it simple. You want confirmation, drop some WAPs here, right? You can get confirmation here. If you want earlier confirmation, you can get a little bit of it right here. Well, that's going to come right in at 70. So yeah, the ultimate confirmation is going to be at the VWAP from those old highs. That's going to happen around 73. I don't hate it. It's okay. There's better looking stocks, right?
Couple more, then we'll get to the chat, I promise. Let's look at ASML for Hansen, 6-month time frame.
I didn't get to make my joke. You can have it your way above 70.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, but hey, all right.
Go ahead.
What ASML.
The
6-month time frame.
The Dutch Master. On what time frame?
6 months.
Okay, got it. So
that's his time horizon. I'm assuming.
Trying to make money over the next 2 quarters. That's great. So you want to concern yourself with the primary trend. This is the 50-day moving average, curling higher, and the 200-day. If you just want to see the 200, this will be sloped up beneath price as well. Okay, so primary trend is up. We have really clean level here. Where did we really want the Dutch Master? And we pounded the table about this. This is where we really wanted it, right? On this reclaim here, back above 890, back above these prior cycle highs. Now, that trade is already hit, right? And I think if you're not in it, then you can just use these pivot highs from February or March, right? And that's coming in right around, I don't know, 1050. I think you could even use 1,000. Let's just zoom in here. This is how I would manage it if I were entering right now, right? It would be strength through 1050, right? Which is
a little messy to me. It looks a little messy to me.
It is and it isn't. It's, look, when you zoom out and you flip it to a weekly, this is clean. This is really clean, right? But for purposes of entering, we do want to get a little tactical, so let's mess the chart up. But it is clean, you know, when you zoom out. In terms of how I would trade this, I would be in on strength through 1050, right? Which like could happen today. And then I'd be stopping myself out 50 points lower. So I'd be risking 5% ultimately, right? I'd be stopping myself out at 1,000. If we're back in here, we're still okay over the really long term. And if you're it's a 6-month time frame, you're probably still okay. You're probably gonna end up wanting to buy even more weakness at either this VWAP or even back towards this 890 level. So the trade starts to take a lot longer, probably isn't working as quickly as you'd want it to. Ideally, we just blast through 1050 and don't look back. And then I think you would want the next fib. Yep, so 1215. And then from there, 1740. It's a really nice chart structure, right?
Yeah.
This is our pattern. This is our pattern right now.
All right.
Retest in. Off we go.
To the chat we go. I know there are some more questions in the inbox. Can't get to them all. Let's go to the chat though. Let's look at Fang, Diamondback Energy for Nicholas.
Really good.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this is one of the better looking ones though, right? So we got this monster breakout.
I remember the breakout. I haven't looked at it since then, probably.
See, like these cyclical stocks, these commodity stocks, people don't recognize this oftentimes. Like these are super high beta. When they're working and they're outperforming, and when they're not working, they're getting smashed and they're underperforming pretty bad usually. So I think you're saying whoa at this hard correction here.
Yes, that's what I was saying whoa to.
So let's just keep a long-term mindset, right? You got this monster multi-year base breakout that's in the books, and it just starting. I think probably one target hit, not even, right? Just about hitting that first target at that first fib. In fact, if I move this, and it's not cheating actually, it's that you want your fib to line up the areas that the market tells you are most important. So I'm going to pick that first high, and then look, there you go. We already hit the first fib. Now we're pulling back a little bit. You could have drawn this like, Pat would draw this like this. He's a big symmetrical triangle guy. So we got this little continuation pattern breakout at the breakout level. First target hit. Now we're pulling back. It becomes a question of where do we get involved? How do we manage our risk responsibly? Let's zoom in and find out. Now, clean this up a little bit. I'm going to want to drop a VWAP from the October lows, or I guess the June lows of last year. See how that works out. And I'm going to want to drop a VWAP from the October highs last year. And then I like this little area right here, right? This was when I think they announced a acquisition. Diamondback, something happened. I think they acquired somebody. They got this big move up 9% right ahead of their earnings report. So let's anchor from there because some serious volume came in on this news. Ooh, and look at what that gives us. So that's the level that you want to use, right? If we hook back above this VWAP from, I would call it like the leg up date. This is when this leg up, February to April, began. We anchor there. We're about to reclaim it, right? And then you would want to use a channel break for confirmation. We do have a steep downtrend channel in place here, right? So this channel break is eventually confirmation, and then you'll have a target right here at the 161, which is also the all-time highs from April. So I like that. That's it. That's your VWAP right there, 190. This is a strong name. So
thanks for the question. Yeah, that was a good idea from Nicholas. Thanks.
Like this is a strong name. So here's Fang relative to its peer group. This is Fang relative to Energy, right? So
it looks the same. It looks the same to me.
Right, but despite that hard correction, like look at it, right? So
yeah, all right.
What's the peer group doing? This is what it's doing relative to its peer group during that hard correction. It's actually still steadily kind of rising here. So Fang is really best of breed in energy. So it's a great vehicle.
All right, let's do a couple more. For Jonathan, we'll look at Wolf, WULF, TerraWolf. This is all I know is it's software. That's all I know.
This has been the one. I bought calls yesterday. I'm going out in January. This one is looks like it's squeezing. It doesn't have a monster short interest, but it sure looks like a squeeze to me. I always like to drop the VWAP from the all-time highs. Right, boom, boom, chopping around above it. Speaking of Patrick and symmetrical triangles, this is how I have mine drawn. at this, right? We broke trend, Spencer. This is how trading works, right? Right before the move happens, what happens before it?
Consolidation.
A lot of weak hands are drawing their charts like this and saying, "Oh shit, I got to get out here. We broke trend," right? And then what
Yeah,
does
can you blame him? It's a choppy mess.
and then the market just absolutely reverses it and face rips it higher. Up I don't know, 60, 70% in the last 3 days. Up
What's
60.
wrong with paper hands?
So, yeah. So, all right, where are we going to define our risk for this? Let's see. We got a shelf right here. I would really use these pivot highs, right? Because this way, if we're above this red bar here at 280, right, the triangle has broken out, right? So that breakout is in place. We're above this little shelf of pivot highs. I think you could treat this as a little blow off, right? Just kind of ignore it. And then I think next stop is going to be these highs from July of last year, which are right around 4. And then from there, we just start climbing up the right-hand side of this base. Like when you zoom out on this, this looks better and better. So this is the same pattern. We've been leaning on this whole cycle. It's just taking longer to leave the station, right? Taking longer to complete, but it's happening right now. And you're getting this big weekly stick. I love to see a nice little momentum surge on my breakouts. This is going to be the best week for Wolf since, I don't know, this time last year. And if you want to manipulate the data a little bit and say from a 3-day rate of change perspective, right? Because those are 3 really good candles we got for Wolf right now. How does it stack up? Well, talk about momentum. We haven't seen this kind of momentum since pretty much the end of the last bull market back in 2022. So that's the way I want to see a breakout kind of kicked off, right? Decisively with an authoritative move, some sort of momentum surge taking place. So I like this a lot. I think your ultimate stop out here can be 275. And like I said, next stop 4. And then from there, I think you just drop some fib retracements here. So the first retracement will come in at 1730. Wow. Love that. Listen, when these start going, if Bitcoin's above 72,000, that breakout's in the books. These guys are so levered to the price of Bitcoin. These bases, they can climb up the right-hand side of these things fast. That's why I went out to January and just bought some leaps. They're not even leaps. I'm sorry. They just bought like $4 or $5 calls. Just nice out of the money. Let it run. That trade works in an environment where Bitcoin is resolving this range higher and legging up.
All right, let's do one more. Let's take a look at Wells Fargo for Joe Meacham. Nice.
All right, so drawing an arc at the COVID bottom, and then the bear market lows in really last year for the banks. Now, in terms of the breakout level of this massive multi-year base, I'm going to draw right through this blow-off high in 2018. I'm going to connect the 2015, 2017, 2019, 2022, and the current highs, or at least price at the current level. This was blow-off top, confirmed by the breakaway gap lower, right? We want to ignore it. So 59 is the level. I think in terms of a tactical entry, you can use the lows from this flag, right? We had a really nice flag pattern right here. So we really like the idea of buying the breakout in. I would just extend pivot lows, right? And whether you want to draw them at the closing lows or draw them at the intraday is up to you. How tight do you want it? What are your risk preferences? So that would be a stop around 56.25, and then buying on strength above, like we talked about, 59.25. And then I think you're going to get quick confirmation. Oops. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool, Spencer. You're going to get quick confirmation right here at the pivot highs, which will probably happen if we take out the VWAP from that high, which is going to come in just north of the breakout level, around 60. And then from there, hold on, target. Notice how the 2023 or 22, 23 rounding bottom bottomed out at the 38% retracement of the 2015, the COVID drawdown. 8250 would be the target. Long above 50.
I've been be honest, distracted this entire show since we've started here. GameStop has gone up $4, so good for me. But I've got my VWAPs up, Steve. Have no fear. I've got my out at the moment.
Hey,
35 something.
Pat yourself on the back, Spencer.
Yeah, this was a lucky one.
Now you just protect it. Like I said, you drill in, but you pull up your 15-minute chart on your trading view and you drop those VWAPs and then set an alert. And when it goes, it's done. It's already a winning trade for you. Just protect it.
Yeah, look at that. And I'll be there. If they were all so easy, I would be a billionaire. But anyway.
Can you buy some Bitcoin for me? So maybe that'll.
Yeah, I should.
All right.
This has been fun. But Patrick will be back in the saddle with you guys on Tuesday. That'll be our next show. So email your requests, questions at stockmarketmedia.com. We go to the inbox first, then we do the chat. So we appreciate all the requests. Far too many. Apologize for not getting to all of them. I wish we could, but we can't. Them's the breaks. Maybe next time. We'll catch you later. Have a good weekend. And see you tomorrow on the morning show. Right here, 8:30 Eastern Time.
Later.